All right.
Good afternoon. Or I
Hey,
guess
Will Jones.
noon exactly.
I don't know if she can see us or not.
What is going on, Yodit? How y'all doing? Welcome.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. So good to see everybody. I see my Uncle Scott. Will.
Hi. Hey, mama.
Hey, baby. All right. Y'all go on mute for a second. We're going to kick this thing off. Welcome to Black Dandelion. My name is Yodit, music aficionado, culture fanatic, lover of all things blackity, black, black, black. And I'm here with my brother, my love. Tell the people who you are, sir.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Will Jones III. I am a Black creative, an audiophile, and I am Marion's oldest son. Those are the identities that I am bringing to the table today for the second episode of Black Dandelion. So this is for the black seeds and saplings, stranded in arid wastelands of whiteness, battered by sandstorms, snacked on by locusts, yet still stretching towards the sun. This is for the native plants they've labeled weeds, who've been poisoned with pesticide, pox, and plague, culled and clipped to the point of erasure, yet still absorb toxins from the soil around them, healing damage they didn't do in the first place. This is for the black dandelions, the resilient remediators who crack and break through the facades of this false world, whose roots run deep, tapping into the wellspring of black wisdom, strength, and love that replenish, restore amid oppressive heat, who shine brilliantly, gloriously, defiant, made in the image of their creator, sunspots, in a manufactured landscape of uniform green, whose genius become the seeds of the revolution for justice, sprouting, growing, and blooming into the future we all long to see. Welcome, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Sprouting, growing, blooming into a future we all long to see. Well, y'all, for this episode, Will and I, in honor of Women's History Month, are exploring the music of our mothers, and the imprint that it left on us. You know, Black mamas have been singing and writing and healing and restoring families for centuries. It's my birthday weekend. I am the daughter of Cassandra Johnson Levitt. I am celebrating her because it was her birthday too, 48 years ago. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody. My dad is here. Hey, Dad. My family's here. My mama, Will, was the architect of my cultural consciousness. She took me to museums, to protests. She took me, for those in Detroit, my Aunt Val is on, to the Shrine of the Black Madonna. She read and wrote stories and literature to me. I learned bell hooks and Zora Neale Hurston and Angela Davis and Sonia Sanchez from my mama. My mommy wrote songs for me. She sang to me. She even learned to play the saxophone like you will and blew that sax into my soul.
I didn't know that, yo.
Yeah, she was a musician. She's actually the descendant of musicians. My grandfather, her father, he was a horn player.
All right.
And he played in a band with Duke Ellington.
Shut.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And so actually my mom was raised in Syracuse. My grandmother met my grandfather while he was on the road. And my mom was born and raised in Syracuse, but she came to Detroit looking for her father. And she eventually got interested in the saxophone because he had played. It's sort of ironic. She came to Motown for healing and for
Mm.
restoration of her family.
Mm.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he died soon after she reconnected with his family.
Mm-hmm.
But I know and I remember the stories of her looking for him and her feeling connected to him. She actually came to Detroit during the rebellion.
Oh,
She would
wow.
talk about tanks driving down Cass Corridor. She was a student at Wayne State and looking out her window. So she was looking at the revolution happening while also having, this personal revolution of trying to find her dad and connect to her roots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's such a. I mean, it's wild, right? Because obviously we're different from our ancestors, right? But like, I can feel all of that lineage, like in who you are, right? Like just that resilience, that desire to continue to understand and like to seek healing, right?
Yeah.
To be drawn back to your roots, like all of that I feel like is just kind of like interwoven into the you that I get to know and get to work with and get to interact with on a regular basis. And so I'm really grateful to your mom for making that pilgrimage and for raising you the way that she did,
She was a trailblazer. I mean, she broke away from my mom. My mom finished up high school early. She was brilliant.
Oof.
Like finished high school at 16, was off to college, went to junior college in Rhode Island. She would go on to get 2 or 3 degrees. She was such a lover of learning. I actually had a chance to honor her on a different occasion this past week, just to kind of educate her, just to give you a sense of who my mother was. She taught for 30 years, never failed a kid. Not one kid failed on my mom's watch. Yeah. So music, actually, I have this picture of her and I doing what looks like our own version of the hustle, right?
Okay.
When I'm like, I'm 8 or 9, and there's
Yes.
this extensive record collection behind us, which my Uncle Tommy inherited. But mom played, like, music was just such the backdrop of my life. And all kinds of music. We're going to listen to a few songs today, but I learned classical music from my mother. I learned folk music. Like those of you who know Josh White Jr., like he was playing folk music in my living room as a kid. I definitely was at Baker's Keyboard Lounge underage, like listening. I attended the Metro Jazz Festival, like on my mom's hip every year at Hart Plaza. That was my life. We were in museums all the time. And you and I were talking earlier. I like nerd out on music. It's I don't even think I can imagine a day that I haven't had music on or having a conversation. Just yesterday, me and Jessica, who's on with us, we were just like going on this memory trip of 90s R&B. We hit up gospel though. We ended up in some Dream Girls soundtrack, we were, I just love it. I just love it. And so the story with my name, which I think is a good segue to this song I wanna play, Will. My mom named me Yodit. My dad is from Ethiopia, and Yodit, its literal translation is Judith from the Bible. But Yodit that I'm named for was a 6th century queen who tried to reintroduce Judaism to Ethiopia. She wanted to be able to connect the cradle of civilization back to the dawn of creation, and she had issues with the Coptic Church and Christianity in Africa. And when people wouldn't convert to Judaism, Yodit burned the churches.
This is taking me back to our conversations from last summer.
Come on, I'll be ready to burn something down in a minute. You hear me? burn it down. So my daddy named me, but my mother was so proud of this Ethiopian lineage that I had, and what that meant.
Yes.
And she would write these songs. I got a little girl so sweet, little Yodit. Oh, little Yodit, so round and brown. And
Oh man.
I wrote a similar song for Tyson. So she was such a gift. But there's a particular song you got to play it for me, Will. That I just remember, as maybe others do too, as like the backdrop of my childhood. Come on, let me hear it. Woo! I know we played that in the intro, but I just cannot ever get enough of hearing that.
Yeah.
Loved it. Love it. Somebody just said it was their first real concert.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Talk about like introductions to music, Kathleen. I'm envious. That is incredible. I mean, but okay, so that was Kathleen's first concert. I mean, like, what's the first memory that you have? You said this is like a song that's kind of was the backdrop of your childhood, right? Like
Yeah.
what kind of early memories do you have around it?
It was always there, kind of like Stevie Wonder
Mm,
for most of us has just always been there. Um, but what I have and what I remember is a feeling.
mm-hmm.
And I wish every child could have the feeling of just knowing my mom thought I was the cat's meow. I mean, she just loved me and I knew it. I knew it. I mean, she patted me up and dressed me up and took me and held me, and I mean I remember being in her arms. I remember snuggling in her bed, and I remember feeling like Aisha, who also had an African name, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
just feeling seen and loved. And it would get me in trouble over the years because I would come up, and I see my son do this too. I come up in Montessori like, yo, isn't she lovely?
Come on, girl. Listen, listen. There is nothing wrong with that, though, right?
I just had I like I
Mm,
felt invincible,
yes.
That's what I remember. I remember dancing with her, I remember singing with her. We would just sing this song over and over, over and over. I mean, the when I hear it now, it feels a little like a God wink. I lost mom in 2003. She was my age when she was diagnosed with early onset of Alzheimer's, and she
Mm,
passed away. I was 19 when that diagnosis came, and she passed away just 2 weeks after. In fact, an anniversary this month. She passed away. She let me get to 30, Will, and then she was like, "Okay, baby, you're gonna make it," because
mhm.
20s of whether or not I was gonna make it were very questionable. But
I
I
can
think
see my
she
mom
was
laughing
like,
at the
and listen, my dad is on to tell you there were it was suspect, but I think by 30 she was like, all right, baby, I'm gonna move on. But this ode that Stevie writes, right, to his daughter, it means so much, her African name, the way he saw her, just to have a song. And I've seen his daughter talk about what it meant to have that song and that homage paid to her life.
Mhm.
That's what I felt. I felt it was a indescribable experience to grow up in a house enveloped in love. And there was just me. It was just me and mom.
Mhm.
So I also appreciate that for parents who have, multiple children, it's hard to spread the love evenly. But she just poured into me, and she was herself a revolutionary, just navigating, what it means to be Black and a woman and a mama and an,
Mhm.
academic and someone who was curious about life and questioning all the time. Um, but that was the gift, really. that
Mhm.
that she gave. And I feel like, I don't know if y'all saw the little short appearance from my mini me Tyson, but he knows the song, right? Because
Mhm.
um, I sing to him and tell him he's so lovely.
Which is, I think a beautiful and revolutionary thing, for a Black boy, right? I mean, for Black children to have an anthem like this is, invaluable, like
Yeah.
you were saying, right? And like that idea, right? Like you were saying, of you go like swag on 11, walking into Montessori. You know what I'm saying? Like that is the what's wrong with that, right? Like that. That's how I think every child deserves to feel. Like you were saying, is that they are incredible and amazing, and um,
I mean, it's this too, which is that part of how oppression works, is to try to deny us of our humanity.
mhm,
And what happened in my house and in many, many, many Black homes that I knew was that the particular form of revolution that we had was love and music,
come on,
right? When we couldn't do anything else, we could love on Big Mama, we could love on each other, we could backyard barbecue, we could put our resources together, we could, nurse our babies, right? There were so many small revolutionary acts happening in the name of love
mhm,
in my house and in the houses in my home, in the city I grew up in and in my friends' homes. Um, and I do, this, I feel like the antidote really, my dog is going crazy, y'all. Um, the antidote to much of what we're up against is love, and yet in the movement, you'll feel a lot of other energies besides love. But mom reminds me, to keep coming back to that. And she was herself, a revolutionary. I mean, she and my dad, and I'm blessed with two dads, my biological dad, and then the dad who picked up
come on,
the picked up and helped when dad number one was off being a revolutionary himself. um, but even in her angst, even in her protest, she never forgot, home, and never forgot to pour into me and to
mhm,
hope. I'm wearing she was fighting for apartheid, against apartheid, I should say. And she gave me this t-shirt that I have on, which just defined what apartheid is.
oh, I can't see the.
Yeah, let me see if you can. It's got yeah, so it just defines apartheid, an official policy of the Republic of South Africa enforcing racial segregation and maintaining white supremacy.
Come
And
on.
I received this shirt in 1990 from my mom,
Oh wow.
right?
Yeah.
And as part of her, teaching of the importance of engaging in the movement. For me, I think I was, 17 at that point. I would go on to actively participate in the Million Women's March, just a few years later. So it kind of starts in that music, right? The
Oh
seed, the seed gets set first of you and your life are revolutionary and beautiful and worthy of love.
yeah. Mm,
And that blooms right into, me seeing and witnessing someone who was a model of love in her career and in her life, and it transcends obviously her, and hopefully, my life is a testament to all she poured into me.
I mean, yes, to all of that, right? Like, gosh, it just makes me think of, like you were saying, like music becomes, it's both like healing and legacy and lesson, and
Yeah.
when we get into my tune a little bit later, like it wasn't until I was really like thinking about that,
Yeah.
that I realized just how much is there. But just in the same way that we've kind of talked about Black Dandelion as kind of like a space for rejuvenation and replenishment, right? For those of us who are kind of like in this desert of whiteness, like the physical built environment in which I was raised, right, was, in predominantly like Birmingham, Michigan, right? Affluent, white. And then in Belgium, the, the cradle of basically some of the worst atrocities that have ever been committed.
Come on now. Come on.
And a lot of people don't know that, but like what the Belge have done or did and
and Leopold was a mug.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But so to like be in those built environments, and then like our house was unapologetically Black.
Come on now, a sanctuary.
Oh my gosh, like not even, it was like a museum, right, of Black art, of Black history, of Black culture. And I didn't quite like, I always knew, right, that when my like white friends walked into the house, they were gonna like feel something because they didn't have anything else
right
in the world that was like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite like the significance of it didn't land with me until much later, right? Until now I've had like the opportunity to build my own home, right? Or not
sure.
Build my own home.
Yeah. Turn your house into a home. Come on, Luther. Yeah. Come on, Luther.
Look, let's not talk about people who are on this playlist, right? But man, just the importance, the power of that. And again, like coming back to this song, right? Just so much of the world telling us that we are different or and well, not, I mean, we are different from like white folks physically, right? But if we're talking about like, isn't she lovely?
You mean the other, you mean walking through a life in this particular country and space and globe, really where the narrative is you're the other. Right.
And not even just like the other, but that's bad.
That's right.
Like so much, it's a trip to kind of experience what is happening in the zeitgeist around women's bodies right now, because for the longest time, Black women have been ugly or, not wanted because of the ways that God has built them. And now, like there's so much appropriation of that coming into the mainstream.
Now.
I'm just like thinking about like, what does it mean to have this song, again, telling little Black boys, little Black girls, aren't you incredibly beautiful? Just from like day one, just the way that you were made. This is a work of God, right?
But it's interesting. I wanna dive in a little bit more on that. Because my own experience is I grew up in Detroit. Lots of people know that. And then right around the crack epidemic, my mom came to Ann Arbor. So I ended up doing high school in Ann Arbor and have since stayed in the area. So I had my experience of being enveloped in, whiteness came later, but still during a formative time. But there is, I think we, narrative is, I've been thinking and talking a lot about narrative lately. And we tend to talk as if there's a white culture, but there's not.
Right.
And what there is are many other cultures. And in particular, in the US, there is Black culture, which has shaped everything.
Right.
So like when you talk about, Black bodied women, and the fact that now every white girl wants an ass like ours, right? When I worked in the music industry, the largest consumers of hip hop music were white kids.
Right.
That is still true today.
Yeah.
Right. The difference is that they had to manufacture culture through our music. What our cultural artists, musicians, and the like we're talking about was our lives and our experiences. And I think it's so important for us to uplift. Why I'm so excited to do this with you is because from the moment your ancestors were brought, kidnapped, and put on, you are the descendant of the first Angolan child born in this country.
William Tucker.
And from that moment, we have not only shaped, but built and grew culture and defined culture here. And what Aisha, what Isn't She Lovely does is positions me, right, as a Black child at 3, at 4, at 5, at 10, in a knowing that we invented the game.
Right.
You hear me?
Right.
That's what I want our children to know. I want to push back on this notion that they're the other. There is nothing to be othered from. And what my daddy, being from Africa, like being the direct descendant of someone from Africa, has done for me
Mhm.
is it has made what would otherwise have been a story that began in 1619, one that transcends centuries. So when I said to my daddy, I wanted to go to a HBCU, he
Right.
was, look, in my best Ethiopian voice, Yodit, why do you want to do this? I have many history for you that begins. It begins before America,
Right.
right?
Right.
I mean, that was important. And it was no knock to HBCU, but he was like, oh no, baby, let me tell you, you are the descendant of Sheba. Isn't she lovely? Is a reminder of that beautiful Black child and my identity. And I carried that with me. I carried it with me.
Mm.
What Marion Jones teach you?
Oh my goodness. Oh gosh.
Shout out to Mama Jones with us
Right.
today.
She was here. Oh.
Marion is Will's mama.
And mom, you know, it's such a trip, right? Because I spent, obviously, like when we decided that this was going to be like the theme of this episode, I spent all 2 weeks thinking about, okay, like what song, right? How do I pick one song to
I know.
guys all of this stuff? Like, oh my gosh. And so, you know, I started, um, man, I think back to the summer of 1999 quite a bit. It was a good one, folks. Ooh. My mom had a Sebring convertible situation going on.
All right now, that was a fine ride.
Ooh, and the top down, it was, you know, I'm 9. Flex
Auntie Edith, you had one of those too.
just, oh gosh. So folks understand, right? And we are driving, listening to Carlos Santana, because that came out that year, Supernatural. Y'all understand, you know.
Come on. Na-na-na-na-na-na.
Shaggy, Hot Shot, Mr. Lover. Come on, like, come on, right? So there was so much stuff. And then I like just kind of dove. It was like diving into a bowl of memories, kind of like a Harry Potter Pensieve type of situation. And all of a sudden, like this one that I should have known from the beginning, just clear and stood straight out for me. And I'm not too sure how many folks know this track and know this artist, but let me put it on real quick and see if it stirs something for some people. So for the folks at home who are going to have to watch this recording, because we can't when we do the recordings, we have to cut out the music. We don't have the rights to that, so we were just listening to "You Gotta Be" by Desiree. And
that was a good one, Mama Jones. That was a
wow,
good one.
like
Listen
my
to what
mom
she
is
was
laughing
telling
and
you
smiling,
too.
and I can tell we both have, like, we're feeling something right now. This is my earliest music memory. This song came out in '94, so I was 4 years old, right? And just remember singing and dancing to this song with my mom in our kitchen, right? We were like, you know, on this other continent, right? Kind of far away. And
Wow.
it was, I asked to play this song nonstop. I think this is like, I think probably one of the first songs that I like tried to memorize, which has become like a whole thing for me in my life. But wow, there's a lot here for me on this one, yo. So I don't know. I don't know.
Want to hear it. I want to hear it
There's some stuff
all.
there.
I want to hear it all. So y'all were in Belgium when?
We were in Belgium. We moved in '95, so just the year after this song came out. But you know, back then, you know, like you got an album when you kind of got it, right? And yeah, I was 5 years old, and I like this song, right? Kind of like what we were saying before about Isn't She Lovely? Like it feels both like this is an affirmation. Like this
Mhm.
song is like so once that, you know, once the chorus comes in, right? It's everybody's just kind of like up and vibing and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
in. It's also instruction in some way,
Yes.
also some lessons, right? And I think particularly about time asks no lessons, it moves on, or asks no questions, it moves on without you. As just kind of like one of those, like, yo, you just, this
Yeah.
life is, you know, you may be in it, but it's not about you. So, you know, things are going to
Yeah.
keep, it's going to keep going. And then, uh, particularly, and I didn't think about, like, I didn't make this connection again until really like thinking about this, you know, but
Mhm.
it feels like a warning in some ways of
Mm.
who you have to be.
Mm. You
And
got
I
to be stronger, wiser. Yeah.
like, and those, yeah, yo, like those two words in particular are
Yeah.
comparative words.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
would not have until, you know, now coming back to the song and really thinking about it,
Yeah.
recognize that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, wiser and stronger than whom? Um,
Mm.
as a child, I would have thought, like, than the person that you were yesterday. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
and now, as a somewhat jaded, you know, 30-year-old
A
adult,
whole black man in the world, right?
thank
Come
you.
on. Yeah. Yeah.
It feels like this is kind of like who we have to be, right? And
Mm.
Desiree was, you know, like many of us, again, like a black dandelion kind of in this wasteland of
Yeah.
whiteness. The album is called I Ain't Moving. And
Yeah.
later on, there's a track where she really talks about what, like, it's called I Ain't Moving, and she talks about what that means, right? So
Yeah.
to really fully understand the song for me comes like, you know, to that context, that
Yeah.
context. Um, but man, and then I think like, again, you know, I could probably unpack this with my therapist sometime. But all of those, like, you gotta be bad, you gotta be like, that's who I tried to be
Yeah.
consciously,
Yeah.
but like not in a bad way. The person that she put out there, especially when she gets to that cool, calm,
Yeah.
collected, like I never kind of, I take that as a different way, right? 30 years old, 2021 in America than I did as a child.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that cool, calm, collected dude, like that was aspirational to me.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
so you know, it's just like when I think about like the ways that this song was like both like a beacon of like just awesome warmth and excitement and happiness and hope for me as a child. Um, it also has like it was very insidious. Maybe I shouldn't have
Right.
heard it that many times.
um, well, I think most of the people who, well, if you were here last month, you know I like fan out on Will. So I'm just gonna take a moment to thank your mama.
Oh man.
Because my, do you have an amazing son? I know I don't have to tell you. And Mama Marion, if you want to come off mute for a moment, the gift of having you here is maybe what you were thinking when you were playing this song for your baby, or what's coming up now.
Guest appearance. Hey mom.
Hey, um, thank you, Yodit. I really appreciate that. What I was thinking at the time, I probably didn't realize it, but as I've told the boys a lot, I owe who I am to my parents,
Mhm.
who just unabashedly told me always, you
Hmm.
can be and do anything you want to do. They never made me feel like there were limits. They always told me I had to work hard. But it, like you said in your house,
Yeah,
your mother poured it into you.
yeah,
And I didn't realize, but my parents were pouring it into me in the same way. Not overtly,
yeah,
but it certainly sunk in and helped me be strong enough to feel free
Yeah.
not to be weighed down by everything that was going on around us. I grew up in Compton. You talked about the revolution. We, I had the Watts riots that
Yeah.
I experienced as a child, at our doorstep.
Yeah.
Our fathers on the street put us all in houses in the center of the block, and they
Mm.
went out there and defended their families.
Mhm.
They were not going to let people who had a right to feel the way they were feeling end up destroying the things that they had worked hard for. So,
Yeah.
I had all that stuff happening around me too. But at the same time, they did not make me feel the oppression, the weight of all that's out there that
Yeah.
we were up against to succeed
Yeah.
and have the life we wanted to have. So in this song, I think it was just me coming out again in the ways that my parents had poured into me, to my children. As William said, it had words in it to inspire you and build you up.
Yeah.
At the same time, it was happy.
Yeah.
Music was in my household growing up all the time as well. And so it was just a natural thing that it was in the household of my family. I'm like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Music's on every day,
Every
almost
day.
all day.
Every-
Even if some at points in time it's just in the background while I'm actually actively, focused in on something else. It's always
Yes.
there. And so
Yeah.
um, this song was just something that at the time was just real appropriate, and unknowingly it became a part of the fabric in our lives because I wanted my
Yeah.
boys to feel
Yeah.
what she was saying in that song. So
Well,
thank
I
you.
thank you. Thanks for letting me kind of put you on the spot. I'm pouring into my 11-year-old now. I get a little weepy just thinking about. I could feel you. I could feel what you're doing. I'm right in the middle of that also, and holding that delicacy of, not putting too much expectation on them while also, really trying to shape. I feel like I'm a scientist, right? I'm just trying to, while I can, shape and mold who he is so that when he enters the world, he is equipped enough, right? Has enough um, nourishment inside to sustain him. And every day of interacting with William is a gift you've given us. So I feel like you're a kindred spirit. I can't wait till it's safe enough for me to thank you in person. We're all, I speak for myself and all of the people we work with as well. So thanks for being here. We love you and we
My
love
pleasure.
Will. Yeah. How about that? Women's history and women's futures. And now I'm all like teary eyed.
That Yodit, I mean, like, look, that's yes, you're a whole human being, like we were just saying, right? And I really admire something, something that we've been talking about, right? As you've been coming through this chapter with Tyson, and particularly like through last summer, one of the things that we talked about was not, particularly with Black boys, stealing their innocence, right? And kind of like taking that from them too soon.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I think about there is so much revolution in Black Boy Joy,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
there's one artist that you and I were kind of like talking about as
Come on now.
like, I mean, just kind of one of the largest propagators of that joy, perpetuators of that joy.
Yes.
And when we talk
Yes.
about music that our moms gave us, like I said, it was hard for me to choose, but I would be in trouble if I didn't mention this guy.
Listen, this dude was the backdrop. Come on, y'all.
I mean,
Woo!
nobody does it like Michael does it.
Come on now. Come on.
Nobody does it like Michael does it, right?
Listen, 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 what'd you call him, Michael? What?
Michael, I just said Michael does it.
Yeah.
It's done every time.
Hey, look, Uncle Scotty just texted me a picture of my mom, y'all.
Oh, that's
There
amazing.
she is. There she is. That's my girl.
Oh man.
I mean, so let's talk about Michael, right? Like, let me set a quick context of this. So, to Mama Marion's point, you know, here we are, and to your point about Tyson and the Black Boy Joy bubble, right? So the thing I talked to you about is like, I'm not trying to tell that dude about cops and how to drive and all of that stuff. Like, I want him to play, have fun, be himself, like just love himself, right? And so I spend more time with Black Men Read and other projects, like just affirming his identity all the time, as did my mother. And then y'all remember We Are the World? Okay, remember that? And then, like I said, the apartheid. And then Mike breaks Thriller on MTV. Yeah, so it's a game. MTV and cable news simultaneously break our innocence and open us up to this whole other world, right? Because now with cable news, you can see what's happening in the world, and this utopia that mom painted at home has no longer exists, right? And I become, as many of my generation are, this sort of cynical Gen Xer. I'm like, y'all done lied. It ain't good like that. Y'all done told a whole lie. The world is terrible. But Mike is this Black face, right? On MTV, looping the Thriller video and all that represents, right? Right, is a game changer in my childhood.
Oh my gosh.
I was moonwalking down 7 Mile, baby.
Ooh. I mean,
It's stop till you get enough.
Like, it's a wow. We could probably do a whole episode on Mike. But like the ways in which he leveraged his platform, right? I think about like the early, like you were saying, like don't stop till you get enough, right? And then like Thriller, which is game changing, right? I mean, cultural or genre defying.
Absolutely.
And then later on, you know, he gets to do songs, oh man, that are just speaking more like to what's happening in the world, right?
Right.
And it's kind of like that continuation of the Black struggle for so long, just kind of like continuing to pull the next generation forward, right? But now that has become kind of the blueprint for almost every like culture defying artist that we see. You know, it's like, get out here, make your pop hits, right? Do the thing, get the followers, and then start to change your message and do all that, which is exactly what we've seen happening with Beyonce, right? In the past 3 albums. But beyond that, what does it mean for this like Black man to have inspired and started, and I mean, name a wedding where Michael Jackson isn't played, regardless of what race you
are. Right. I mean, there's so much, and let's agree that we will dive in a future episode on MJ, because you know he is physically transforming from my generation to yours, right?
Yes.
Whether that's because of the medical issues that he had, clearly he's struggling with mental health. Eventually, he's struggling with addiction, right? But all along, he is struggling with his Black identity, right? While holding, as so many, it does not fall light on me how many musicians die in their 20s and early 30s. We have to think about the way these movement and culture leaders have really put the pain and the pleasure of the culture, you know, on their hearts and out of their mouths and out of their souls, right? They've literally sung themselves in some cases into death. But they have told our story, and they have helped us to grapple with the nuance and complexity of being Black. And we want no one more so than Mike who
Mhm.
died sadly, you know, from an overdose of drugs because he just works his body, you know, to the bone, right? But to hear my son dancing, right, so like, what what is all of this for? Like, what we want, the invitation for those of you who are with us is like, how do we honor the folks who are using culture? Not, you know, these are not just entertainers,
Right.
right? These are griots. These are,
Mm.
you know, our storytellers.
Right.
There were so many songs. I mean, I was listening to Marvin Gaye yesterday, man, right? Like, um,
Oh.
so many. Gil Scott Heron, you know, is another I grew up on. Like, I mean, you know, you could just go and go and go, but specific to MJ, like no better sort of beautiful tragedy
Hmm.
than what he gave us as a gift, and really what over time we took and took and took, you know, from Mike. So, you know, let us remember to honor these cultural greats, right?
Right.
And not to freeze them in time around, you know, the particular experience or challenging. Let us not freeze each other in time,
Mm.
right?
Mm. I think that's such like a powerful demand or invitation or call or offering, particularly when we think of music as a form that both is held exclusively in time, right?
Yeah.
And I think like some of the musicians will kind of under like, you know, it's
All about time.
and it's only in this moment, right? You know, it's like the next measure is a different measure, and that moment has moved on. You can't come back, right? And yet these works become like time capsules
That's right.
or
And
ever.
timeless.
Exactly, right? Like that I can listen with the same kind of excitement and enjoyment to music that my mom, you know, was
Yep.
raised on, right? Or like, you know, like she took my like what my big sister Cindy, she took her to go see Michael Jackson before I was even on the scene, right? So like, there's a whole
Yes.
lineage of relationships and
That's right.
sharing love
That's right.
that's being poured into, right,
Yeah.
generation after generation with these works. And
Yeah. Music, like love, transcends time,
mm,
right?
and I
Yeah.
mean, like, you know, I think everybody who listened to or has listened to the new Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars song
Woo!
could testify to that as a homage to the culture, the black brilliance, the genius that became soul and funk music out of the 70s, right? Like that,
Yeah.
it just so
Yeah.
uh, yeah. Honor our artists, you know, honor the work that they're giving us, not only as, like you said, entertainment, but as our stories, you know,
Yes. Yes.
the legacy that we share with the next generations.
I'm about to drop this episode too from if anybody listened or read Nicole Hannah Jones's piece 1619. There's a podcast version, and there's a link here. It's a long link, y'all. Try to copy it, but she talks about um, the history, the birth of American music,
Mm,
right? And remember that Hannah's whole piece is about reclaiming what it means to be America, that, you know, black folks and brown folks really were um, the architects of this country. And so this particular episode, she takes music back to Negro spirituals, right?
yeah.
And how it shapes every genre of music from that moment to today.
Okay, before we start talking about Negro spirituals, because you know that
Willow.
we have a couple of wrap up things that we just want to keep y'all hip to before we because we're gonna end this with a dance party. We're just gonna say it is Yodit's birthday, right? We have some music that we are gonna play and we are gonna boogie and y'all are invited to stay on. But Yodit, you have another demand for our audience, you know, as we are
Absolutely.
trying to honor our mission to spread the seeds of revolution for justice. What's going on?
See, Sing to your babies. Sing to the children in your life. Um, I would even say, I'll just steal this one from you, Will. Actively seek out the music of Black women. Just right now, Tracy Chapman came in my spirit.
Ooh.
Just listen to Tracy Chapman today, y'all.
Oh wow, we should have put. Oh, okay. I might be able to throw that on the playlist as we're dancing. You know, it's it's a different vibe, but Tracy is the truth, right? And when yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
So also, folks, I mean, you know, we got big plans. This is just the start. I really appreciate. I think you know, I can speak for Yodit on this as well. That we really appreciate y'all being here, and we are so excited to continue to work with y'all, go through this journey together through like exploring Black music and the revolution and what it means to all of us. If you are able, we would love some support because you know some time and energy does go into making this Bad Jackson happen, and we have a long, like I said, big plans for the future. So feel free to send
Help us build. Help us bloom this thing, y'all. Help us
yes,
bloom.
this is just the seed.
One of the new things we want to do, y'all, is shout out organizations we love. And so I just dropped two. Birth Detroit. I think my sister Leslie Welch might be with us, but
Yeah.
Birth Detroit is building the city of Detroit's first birthing center for women of color. Come on to the mamas, help us birth a revolution. And then my new friend, but I'm in love with her, the plant goddess, Toya Etchison. I linked to her page on Facebook there. Toya has filled my home with beautiful green plants. She can do the same for you. She's a brand new, longtime horticulturalist, but brand new in business. The plant goddess is her name. And yeah, we want you to also be sure that you follow us. Will got us together. We got a YouTube page. We got a Facebook page. What else we got? Well, we're just doing a thing.
We're trying. We're getting this thing off the ground, y'all. So we really appreciate the support, the follows, the share. It means a lot. The next episode is coming up on March 28th at 12 p.m. We just put the link in the chat, and of course, you know, we'll send it out. But y'all, when Yodit brought up Negro spirituals, I cannot wait to talk with y'all about this next work. Adrian Young's The American Negro. This is a jazz album. It is hot and fresh on the scene. Folks, get ready, buckle up, because this is some work. We are going to have a great time talking about this one.
All right, well, you got to play for the people. Before we go, y'all, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. Before we go, we got to have a dance party. And we want everybody who's able, whether you're a chair dancer, a stand-up dancer, a wiggle in your seat dancer. We got 2 tracks. We're going to play a little bit of. These are 2 of my favorite. Come on, Will. Let's do it.
Oh, and of course now.